Storytelling is something that needs to be an ingredient in your marketing. And this is one of those ingredients that many people miss. Share your story. People say it all the time. I'm going to say to you today that there's a better, more effective, more profitable way to tell stories. So the topic of today's training is storytelling. And I've got some notes in front of me so I don't miss any of these points because it's really important. Storytelling is something that needs to be an ingredient in your marketing. It doesn't matter what you sell, what industry you're in, what sales funnel you use, the traffic that you're running, does not matter. If you think about baking, okay, to get the end result, there's of course a bunch of ingredients. And this is one of those ingredients that many people miss: storytelling. How do we connect with someone through a story to get them to move forward to the next phase of your sales cycle? Okay, stories is going to be a big driver of conversions and revenue for your business. And if you're not using stories right now, you're missing a trick. Okay, you really are. It allows us to connect on a deeper level. If we are just on the surface level with our marketing and in our webinars and in our video ads, if it's all just surface level, we're not really getting down to an emotional connection. And that's where stories come in. It also gives you the opportunity to do something that I call displayed understanding. Displayed understanding is where we can position a marketing message in front of a potential prospect or a potential client or customer, and we are displaying to them that we understand the situation that they're in right now. And the more that we can do that, the more likely they are to move forward with us and take some kind of action with our business, our brand, our programs. Because ultimately, people want to feel understood. We make buying decisions based on feeling understood. If you were going to a counselor, okay, and you were deciding which counselor or therapist to use, and one of them had all the credentials, right, all the accreditation, all of the paperwork to say they're an amazing counselor, but if in your initial conversation, it didn't really feel like they got you, they understood you, they were dancing around the issue and they never really made you feel understood. And then there was someone else who maybe didn't have as much credentials, but when you chatted with them, it was just, they were giving you feedback on what they're hearing from you, and it was spot on. And you're thinking, okay, someone finally gets it. And they're even saying a couple of things. Well, likely that makes you feel like this, right? And surely that's a problem for that reason. And you're thinking, yes, that's it. That's my issue. That's my problem. You feel understood. You're going to go with that counselor 10 times out of 10, okay? Because they get you and they understand. So that's what we're trying to do in our marketing. We're trying to position ourselves in front of our potential clients in a way that makes them feel understood. If we display understanding, we're perhaps going to win the client, okay? It moves people into action and it allows them to connect with you. That's why storytelling is really important. Now, there are 3 ways to tell stories. And the first way, in fact, let's make this interactive. Let me know in the chat box, what is a typical description of a story? It's a something story. What is it? Let me know. You've heard it all the time. You hear it in movies, particularly superhero films. Okay, the something story. What is it? Sonny got it. Sonny knows, he's a client. Origin story. Okay, that is the first type of story that you can tell. Now there's 2 more. And I'm going to share with you what they are in just a minute. But first, let's talk about the origin story. Anna says, "Oh, Marvel stuff, man. I'm a Marvel fanboy. Love those films." Okay, an origin story is something that you will hear many gurus and marketing educators talking about, right? An origin story is where you're sharing where you came from. If it's a superhero film, it's sharing how did that, like Spider-Man, for example. How did he get his powers? How did he get to where he is right now? What was the story? So they take you right back. Here's Peter Parker back when he was just a student at college. Like, what did this look? What happened? Okay, he encountered that spider, that did this, that did that, and he started it. It's telling you the whole origin story to how we got to where we are today. And this is taught in the marketing space as well. Share your story. People say it all the time. Share your story, put it out there. Tell people how you came to, to come across this solution, right? What was your journey? Tell your story, tell your story. The right people will connect with you, okay? Now, there's some truth to that. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm gonna say to you today that there's a better, more effective, more profitable way to tell stories. There's nothing wrong with origin stories, but it's just not the best tactic to use. Because what's happening when you tell an origin story? The audience get to know you. Well, that's one good thing, but it's not the ultimate thing. They get to know you. Some people will resonate with you. Some people will connect with you, okay? But that's not really what we're looking for. What we want is for them to feel understood. So why would we just talk about ourselves? Like, I've seen it in webinars, I've seen it in sales presentations, right? You know, they do a 10-minute spiel about, you know, who they are, where they live, where they grew up, how many kids they have, right? Their hobbies, their passions, you know, the journey that they went on and how they are, you know, here today, and their dog's name, right? All of this stuff is good to build some kind of connection, but that's not the best use of that 10 minutes, okay? There is another story structure that you should be using, and it's this: tell their story, okay? We're gonna tell their story, okay? Here's what we're doing. We're going to take our story and we're going to find the parts of it that we know is gonna connect with that audience that we're trying to connect with right now, okay? We're gonna take the bits out of our story that we know are going to most resonate with our potential audience. The audience, especially if they're a cold audience, meaning they've not heard of you before, they've just seen an ad from you, they've somehow ended up on a webinar with you, and they're dipping their toe in the water with you and your brand. They're just starting to figure you out. So if you start talking about how many kids you've got and where you grew up and how old you are and your passion, your hobby, you know, yeah, okay, bit of connection, but they don't care about that, okay? If we can tell them their story in the context of telling our story, we're gonna connect on a much better level, okay? Let me give an example of what this looks like. If I'm targeting a coach and a consultant, someone who is wanting to sell their coaching for a high ticket price tag, but they are getting overwhelmed by the funnels, they would like to do paid advertising, but they're so nervous because they've lost some money in the past and they're nervous to do it again, okay? If they can't seem to get clients at this high price point, and so they're starting to doubt whether they could even sell high ticket, and they need a vehicle if that is the audience I'm going after, then guess what type of story I'm gonna tell? I'm gonna tell my story as if it's their story. I'm gonna tell the parts of my story that connect with them. I would be saying things like, hey, let me go ahead and just take you back a few years, because I remember back in 2013, I was freaking out about trying to get this business going, because back in 2012, I saw the opportunity to build a business online. It looked attractive, it looked possible. Dare I say it looked simple, or at least some people online were telling me that. And so I tried for a year, which took me to 2013, and I still had no results. And all I wanted to do was package up my knowledge into a high ticket offer that I could start to get in front of the right people, but nothing was working. I was building all kinds of sales funnels. And in fact, every week I was getting distracted by another type of sales funnel, because I would almost be done building one. And then someone else would say, that doesn't work anymore. You got to try this. And I was getting stuck in this loop of trying to follow the current vehicle that is supposedly working. I remember someone told me about paid advertising was the answer to get the right people into my sales funnels. And so I remember I went to Facebook super nervous. I filled in the blanks. I started to run a Facebook ad. I remember hitting that big green button that said create ad campaign. I remember sitting back and just wondering what on earth is going to happen. Fingers crossed. Went to bed that night, woke up in the morning, $200 down the drain, nothing to show for it. People always tell you, hey, stick at it, right? Let the numbers, work for you. So I let it run for another couple of days. And I remember a few days in, I'm $500 in the hole, and I've got 2 leads for that. And I remember just pausing everything and just thinking, I'm not touching paid ads again. Like You see what I'm doing here? Now I'm speaking to you again. I'm telling my story in a way that I know is actually telling their story. I'm talking about the troubles, the hurdles, the things that I have come up against that have been an issue for me. And I'm going back into the past, telling those parts of my story that I know that is connecting to their current pains, their current frustrations, and where they are right now. So that it's going to display understanding. They're going to feel like they can connect with me. They're going to feel like this is exactly, that I'm the type of person that gets them. I understand. And that's going to lead them into action. I'm displaying understanding. Is this making sense?